Mind if I sit down?
Oh, Andrew,
How you been?
how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
What brings you to this part of town?
Well, trying to escape the madness, you know. Sometimes you're just trying to find a little peace in this world. I think it's what we're all looking for, isn't it? I don't know about you, but if I read the newspaper nowadays, I get pretty anxious. I start to feel genuinely concerned if I read the news.
Well, you know, you're the perfect guy to ask this. Is there anything ever good in this paper? In the news in general?
I ask what the point of the news is. Is the point of the news to inform us all, or is the point of the news to just try and make us accept their lies for a little bit longer, right? I think they're trying to placate such a large portion of the population so they can just steal the human energy and the finances of people. And I don't know. I don't know if there was any good news to tell, they'd even tell us.
You know, I never thought that I would see the day when things could be worse than when they were in my life. But when in my life, my former life, I enjoyed it when they were bad. We took advantage of it.
Yeah.
But now, seeing it from a different side, I mean, I can't even believe how out of control everything has gotten.
The most basic things are broken. Family's broken. Man, woman, child is broken. What is a man? What is a woman? Everything's so subjective now. There's no objective truths left. And they're just setting that up so that we'll accept anything and everything. And they're trying to get us to the point where we have no barriers left in our mind for the slave programming. We can't even say what a man is, what a woman is, that you're supposed to have children, that a man's supposed to protect and provide for the woman. You can't say anything basic, so they can come along with a brand new version of reality, inject it into our minds, and I'm sure it's designed to benefit them, not us. And the slavery continues. And I feel like, especially this year, I said at the beginning of the year, I said, this is a pivotal year for the world. They have so many elections going on in so many large countries, and obviously we have the American election, which is a really big one. And I don't know if the people at home realize, especially the people who say, oh, I don't follow politics and it's no big deal. I don't know if they realize that this is probably one of the last years we stand a chance to do anything about this. I feel like time is running out. And once they have it all locked down, the way they intend on locking it all down, it's going to be a lot harder to even voice your concerns, let alone do much else. So, scary times.
Well, I can tell you this election is certainly the most important in my lifetime. And I think if this goes the wrong way, in my opinion, the wrong way is Kamala Harris, America's done.
Well, how can it recover, right? I mean, isn't the point of a leader that they're supposed to stick up and fight for you? That's what's so amazing to me, that there's enough people inside of the country, there's enough of the population who will sit there and believe that she actually cares enough to fight for their interests. She hasn't even said a single thing she's going to do for anybody. It's remarkable.
But how did people become so ignorant? I mean, look, I'm a lot older than you. You know, I grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s. People were not this ignorant. They saw through things.
Yep.
I mean, this woman is a facade.
Yep. Yep.
And they're not seeing it.
Are they not seeing it? Or are they just so caught up? You know, the truth is the truth. And you're supposed to accept the truth irregardless of how it makes you feel. Mm-hmm. But now we have a world so obsessed with feelings, and that's why they push this emotionality, and they push feminism, and they push the idea of feminizing men, because you have a subsect of the population who will look at something, they will see the truth, but if they don't like how the truth makes them feel, they won't accept it. Their feelings supersede truth. Mm-hmm. So they can look and say, Kamala does not have a track record of success. She's yet to say what she's going to do as the leader. She can't argue with world leaders on behalf of America like Trump could. She doesn't have the experience. They'll ignore all that. They want to believe, because she's a woman, or whatever other reason, that she's better. So their truth changes. Truth in of itself. 2 + 2 = 4. But to some people, they feel better if it equals 5. And they'll ignore the truth. And it's really crazy that if you talk to these people, the conversation won't even be about objective truths. It'll just be about, but she's a girl. And this is where we've ended up. I mean, how do you argue with that? I mean, she is a girl, yeah.
Yeah, but my gosh, I mean, these are the same people that are suffering through what this administration has caused for the past 3.5 years, and they want more of the same. I don't, you know, I just cannot, I sit down at night and I think, how could they do, I cannot understand, I can't process it.
Where do you think it's all going to end up? If Trump does win, what do you think is going to happen?
You know, I mean, if he wins, he's going to have another battle for the next 4 years trying to set things straight again. You know, they're going to come after him in every which way. I think they may even try to assassinate this guy. They hate him that much.
Yep.
They hate him that much. But is he going to be able to get anything done? I think so. I think he will. You know, some people have said there's going to be a revolution, that he's hated so much that people are not going to be able to accept him in office. I think it might be the other way around. You know, on Rumble lately, I know you were on that platform.
Yeah.
If you see the people are so angry,
Yeah.
the messages that they're angry, there's hatred coming out in all the responses and the comments. I don't know. I think if he doesn't win, we're going to see some real problems. That's my feeling.
Cigar?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I think people feel like if he doesn't win,
Put this down.
there's no longer a political solution, right?
I think so.
And the goal is for politics to avoid violence. That's the whole point of politics in the first place. The whole point of an election is to avoid the need for a war. When the leader dies or the leader changes, there's usually a war to find out who the new leader is, but that's expensive and it causes a lot of carnage, so you have politics instead, and people are prepared to accept the loss if they believe it's fair. Mm-hmm. But now people understand it's not fair anymore, especially if Trump loses, they're going to understand it's not fair. And they're going to realize there's no political solution to their problems, and when there's no political solution, there's only ever one other solution. And then we have two very unfortunate scenarios if he loses. We have a large swath of the population who understand that it was rigged and it was set up and that there's no political solution and they quietly march into slavery. Or America burns. And they're both bad, you know? Because, I mean, everyone likes the idea of civil unrest and everyone likes the glamorous idea of chaos. But when you have thousands of men outside your door and the police aren't answering the phone, doesn't matter what side of the equation you're on, you don't want to be in that scenario, right?
Exactly.
Even if they're on your team, crowds are chaotic and things happen. Nobody wants that. So, but then what do? You march step into slavery. You just agree that there's no political solution and they can rig it and set it all up and you're just going to sit there and accept it. It's pretty scary. And I'd like to believe that we still have a chance just to get people to think and use their minds enough and quietly, peacefully resist this garbage enough to stop them actually getting the lock on the door, you know? It's an empire of lies. I often, whenever I consume the MSM or I read the news, I struggle to find anything that's not a lie.
Yeah,
It's all a lie.
absolutely.
It's an empire of lies. The history of how this empire came to be is a lie. The current situation we're in is a lie. Their plans for the future are a lie. The people who we're supposed to trust lie. So with enough truth and enough people simply not believing their lies, I like to believe that's enough to prevent humanity being basically enslaved. But we're getting close to the wire now, friend, because I still feel like there's such a huge percentage of people who just don't seem that interested. They just seem to want to let it go on as it is. And these people, I guess they don't realize that they're aiding the enemy to sit there and say, I don't care and I'm not political, I'm not that interested. Well, that means you're leaving up to the very few freedom fighters and you're just walking along with whatever the Satanists want you to do. You're on their side. You're helping them a lot more than they realize.
But let me ask you, think people are just ignorant today, that they can't see the truth? I mean, I don't know if there's any correlation, but there must be. I know our education system is in trouble in the United States. People are not literate like they used to be. Are they not seeing, you know, again, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, putting this person back in office is the same result as they're going through now, and they're experiencing hardship. You haven't been back there in a while, but it's bad in the United States. I mean, this inflation thing is hurting everybody. There's crime running rampant in the streets. I mean, it's crazy, and these people look at it and they think that she's some kind of savior, not knowing anything about her that she's done that's good. Nothing.
Well, and she's currently in power, right? The person in power is promising that when she's in power, she'll fix problems that she hasn't fixed and won't fix.
Exactly. And not only that, you have a media now that for some reason, this is what I can't understand, because these are educated people. They're educated people. They're trying to reinvent her, and everything that was done wrong or that she didn't do or that she didn't accomplish, they're putting a smokescreen over that and making her out to be like this icon. Now, what's their motive? These people, all right, they got money. They don't suffer like the rest of the people on the street. They have money. But they also have to realize, you know, we have very serious enemies in the United States.
Yeah.
And this woman is absolutely, I mean, the idea of her sitting with a Putin or sitting with Xi or you know, anybody from Iran is,
I'm not sure they'd even take the meeting.
no,
I
mean,
don't
why would
think
they?
they'd even sit there with
Why
them.
would they?
Yeah.
It's a joke. They wouldn't even regard her.
Yeah.
And this is serious stuff. I mean, the United States, we're in trouble there. We have a, you know, $35 trillion debt that you can't get out from under. I don't care what anybody says. There's no way to get out from under a debt like that. Where it's going to lead, who knows? But you don't get out of that. So you got $35 trillion debt. You got people that are now taking advantage of us in China and Russia. You got wars happening all over the world that nobody can stop in the current administration. And this is real serious. I'll be honest with you, I'm worried about my kids, my grandkids. I don't care about myself. I'm 73 years old. What are you going to do to me? But my family, I mean, this is frightening stuff. It really is.
Certainly is, because if America falls, where do you go, right? I mean, you have the choice of staying and being a patriot and doing your very best to defend it, but even if you decided you had to leave, you go where? People don't realize the world is very tribal. Like, you can leave America, you can go to Russia, but you're not Russian, and you never will be Russian.
No, how am I going to live there? I can't.
And most of the world operates that way, right? People in America were very open to the idea that someone can come in and be there a while and be American. It doesn't work that way in most places in the world, right? You're always going to be a foreigner. You're always going to be a second-class citizen to some degree in the eyes of the law and the world. You know this better than anyone. I mean, if you're wealthy and well-known and famous and you're in the wrong country, the gangsters also want to pay that. That's the world, right?
100%.
So we're on a ship, and there really isn't a lifeboat when you look at the idea of Western ideals and Western democracies. And America's supposed to set an example. I mean, what's the chance of any election on the planet ever being fair again if everybody knows America reads them? It's over for the whole idea of democracy now.
Listen, I know for a fact the last election wasn't fair. Was it rigged enough to turn it, you know, in Biden's favor? I don't know, but I know there was certainly a lot of stuff going on. You know, I have people and friends in Pennsylvania and Arizona, and they were telling me things that were happening. So, I mean, that's another worry. You know, is this election, is it going to be fair? I don't think so. These people, Andrew, I'm going to tell you this, these are the worst people in the world. Government is the most corrupt organization on the planet. And unfortunately, it's gotten to the United States at this point. Look, I witnessed this throughout my time on the street. You know, we had plenty of politicians that we worked with. What do politicians want? They want money and they want votes. Yep. If you provide both, they'll do what you want. Yep. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them. But it's gotten to a point now where they don't even hide anything. They don't even care anymore. I mean, they go in there, you know, making $150,000 a year, and they come out worth millions of dollars. And they do it right in front of everybody.
And they tell you.
Yeah, they tell you.
It's interesting because people don't seem to understand that the politicians and the police and the judges and the doctors, all of these people are as fallible and morally repugnant as the average man on the street. Because they are the average man on the street. If I were to say to you, do you want this average man on the street in charge of your life? You'd say, no, I don't know who is he. I don't trust him.
Absolutely not.
But then you trust this group of clowns, expecting them to be somehow better, like they're superhuman.
Yeah.
They're human too. They have their own biases. They have their own motivations. They're corruptible, absolutely. And it's very rare to meet somebody who's prepared to put their neck on the line for what they believe is right, especially for somebody else who they don't particularly know. You know, if you were to get 20 federal agents in a room and 19 of them are intent on setting this guy up, and one of them doesn't really want to set the guy up, but, you know, does he really want to piss off and lose his career? And who is this guy anyway? Maybe he's an asshole and he did something in the past. He may not have done this, but he did it in the past. And it takes a very special kind of person to stand up and really try and make a fuss.
Absolutely.
Most people just kind of go with the flow. And this is where we get back into the point I made earlier. You do a lot of damage by just going with the flow, right?
Yes.
Because we're now in a battle for humanity, and it's not a matter of you can't sit this fight out. You're either on the good team or you're going along with what the bad team want you to do, which is to stay asleep Keep your eyes half closed. Pretend you don't notice. Oh, maybe the election's fair. Maybe it is fair. Maybe last time it was fair. Maybe Kamala would be all right. We'll see how it works out. Truthfully, it's cowardice. People are afraid to accept the realities because then they're implored to act. So by pretending everything's fine, they don't have any obligation to do anything. So they can just sit there and go, it'll all work out. I'm not really into politics. Oh, you're not into politics. You're not into the leaders of your country. You're not into the taxes you pay. You're not into the global wars destroying children all around the planet. You're not into that. What are you into? TV? Do you listen to music? Oh, that's very interesting. Like, I've heard people say I'm not political.
Yeah,
How are you, in the world we're currently in,
yeah.
life and death, how are you not political? They're trying to take your children and brainwash them. And you're not political?
You're exactly right. There was somebody yesterday, a younger guy, he was at a Kamala rally, and they said, what are you doing here? They started asking him about her politics. He said, well, I'm not really interested in politics. I'm just here for the vibe. And I look at that and I say, this guy, his vote is going to have an impact on my life, my wife, my kids. It drives me crazy. I mean, I'm trying. I don't know if it's old age or I don't know what it is, but man,
you're right. And this is where we need some kind of conscientious objection regarding all of the competent people of the planet. Like, if I saw that video, right, and I voted for Trump and I was in the military and Kamala won and I was sent to go die somewhere, I'd say, nope.
No,
Why? I'm not going to die based on the policy of this president who was voted in on a vibe.
Absolutely.
I'd rather go to jail. I'm done.
I totally agree with you.
And it's actually a shame because I remember when they got, do you remember when they got that black basketball player out of Russian jail? Yeah. And at the time, there's a white spy who's been sitting in Russian jail for 9 years.
And she hated America.
Oh, she hated America. But when they got her out, they were talking in the press conference, she's a person of color and she's LGBT. All they talked about is that she's black and gay and how important it was to get her out. If you're a straight white male, why are you even working for the government anymore? They will leave you in jail to fucking rot.
Absolutely.
They will leave you in jail to rot because you're the wrong color and the wrong sexual orientation. Why are you even going to work? It's insanity to me. And until the competent people stand up and say enough is enough, I'm not advocating for violence. I'm advocating for the absolute opposite. I'm advocating for a lack of action in many ways. Come do this. You know what? No. Because I don't feel respected in this country anymore. And I feel like this has just become identity politics garbage.
100%.
And I've had enough. Until that happens, they're going to continue to push the buck down the road. I mean, you know from your life better than even I know. But if somebody keeps pushing and you never push back, they're going to push as far as they can go.
And they've been absolutely doing that. And then they come after somebody like you because you speak your mind, you speak the truth, and you get penalized for it, indicted for it, thrown in jail for it.
Absolutely. Your ability to speak freely is directly correlated to your insignificance.
Yep.
You can speak as much as you want if nobody listens. People start listening, and then you start talking, little problems start to appear in this free nation, this free empire we live within. And it's a scary place, but they can't do that to everybody. So you have to inspire bravery in people, right? You have to try and make people understand that time is running out and that they have to finally choose a side. And if you choose the side of evil, then you're on the side of evil. And if you choose the side of good, then you're going to do your very best to see the truth and tell the truth, irregardless of how anyone feels about the truth. But if you're going to sit there and pretend you're not playing the game, like most people do, you're actually doing exactly what the bad team want. You're aiding them. You know, a lot of these words they come up with, because I've been called them all. Quite proud of that.
So have I.
Yeah, racist, homophobic, misogynistic, you name it. I got every badge.
So have I.
If you have basic pattern recognition skills and you're a realist, you're going to come to the odd conclusion which they can deem one of these things. I mean, that's just how it is. I wouldn't leave my child with gay men.
Right.
Homophobe, right? I believe a man is calmer under pressure than a woman. Misogynist. Like, they'll come at you with all these words. And the primary objective of these words is to make you too scared to accept the truth you see. They want you to look at data, use your mind, use basic pattern recognition to come to a conclusion, then throw that conclusion away because they'll label you.
Right.
And go back to the conclusions they want you to have, which is inside of their empire of lies and all clown world. And it's kind of scary that they have so many people of the population who will play that game because they're scared of being the bad guy.
Did you ever, you're 100% right, did you ever think that you would see so much dishonesty and hypocrisy at such a high level?
I mean, I feel like, and maybe this is me being optimistic, governments always make mistakes and governments aren't perfect, but I feel like at least maybe in the 80s and 90s that the big mistakes or the big things America were doing was at least good for the American empire as a whole, I guess. And at least enriching the country as a whole, I guess, you know? So even if they did heinous things all around the world, at least America got richer and the population got richer. At least there was some light to the dark. I feel like currently now there's not even any upside to any of the things they're doing besides for this transnational elite, which probably aren't even American, half of them, who just bounce in and out all around the world anyway. It's no longer even about America, what they're doing. They're just using America like a whore because it has the military and it has the dollar to extract wealth for themselves and raping the tax base, and they don't care what happens to America. They have no interest at all what happens to America. No. They're gonna use it till it explodes, and they're gonna let it burn, and they're gonna jump on a private jet and leave. And the amount of dishonesty and the amount of lies we are constantly told, I don't know how many times your government and the media need to lie to you before you wake up.
Well, that's the thing, you know, and today everything is on video. And they lie, and you can see it.
Trump fell over. Did you know Trump fell over? He fell over. Oh, it said in the paper that at his rally in Pennsylvania, he wasn't shot at. He fell down.
Oh yeah, no, I heard that. Well, they said it, and then they got rid of it because,
he fell over. I mean, they shot at the guy.
Yes.
Bro,
he comes up bleeding, and they're saying it was an act, and oh my God, I couldn't even believe that. Fortunately, like I said, they said it, and then they got rid of it the same day. That was like it was too crazy even for them to put out there. But you know, I just cannot understand the level. These people there's no integrity anymore. They don't care. They lie. You know, when Biden stepped down or was pushed out by Nancy Pelosi and the crew back there, who I got to tell you, they're more devious than any mobster I ever knew.
I bet.
You know, I honestly mean that.
And with all due respect, they probably make more money.
Oh, no question. No question. No question. But, you know, I have no empathy for him whatsoever because I think that guy for 50 years has been living off taxpayer money, hasn't done anything. The guy is a pathological liar, no doubt about it. But the idea that this is one of their own, that they stabbed in the back so quickly and yet care so little about this country that you know why they're keeping him in office now? I'll tell you why. Because they don't want Kamala Harris to own anything. If he were to resign or they get him out and she takes over now for the next 3 or 4 months, everything is on her. Yeah. Now she can say, oh, this was Biden, it wasn't me.
Oh, that's right. And also, we'll say to her, well, all your campaign promises, do them.
Exactly.
Oh, well, she ain't going to do those because they're all a lie.
Absolutely.
So then she'll be in a position where she has to do them. You know what I found interesting is everyone was saying Joe Biden is so competent, Joe Biden is perfect, Joe Biden can do everything, he's great. Then he had one debate with Trump, and then instantly every single liberal in lockstep turned on him.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe, maybe he's not competent. You knew that.
You lied for 3.5 years.
Why did you, who gave you the memo on this day where you're allowed to point out the obvious and pretended you didn't see it before that?
Lied for 3.5 years.
And then one day, all at once,
yeah.
They were allowed to now say, he's incompetent, as if they didn't know. Like the most disingenuous garbage.
As soon as the donor said no more money, that was it. Yeah. Everything's about money. Yeah. But let me ask you this, and this is a normal conversation you have with anybody. You have a best friend, you have a business partner. He lies to you once. Yeah. All right, well, you know, mistakes happen. He lies to you a second time. Hey, what's going on here? All right, you give him a pass. A third time, a fourth time, hey, I'm done. Yeah. How often, how much longer can you stay with somebody that's dishonest with you all the time? And these people have been dishonest for 3.5 years, and yet people are willing to give them another shot. You know, and I've been telling people, you don't do that. These people are never going to be honest with you. They're always going to be disingenuous. And it's not only that they're being dishonest, they're hurting you in the whole process. Yep. And they still can't see it. And I'm saying to myself, either they're so brainwashed, or like you said, or they're so ignorant they're ignorant to a point where they can't see it right in front of their face, and they're willing to take, you know, whatever suffering you're going to have over the next couple of years. Because there's no question they want to destroy the middle class. They don't want any middle class. It's over.
Well, it's already dying.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I was talking to one of my friends in England the other day, and I was saying that America doesn't manufacture much, but it makes some things.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow all its food, but it grows some stuff. But we were talking about England. I said, England doesn't build a thing. It doesn't grow anything. It's all just banking and insurance and City of London and numbers and Fugazi.
Right.
And I said, the way you make money in England is from money. Money makes money. You buy property, or you buy stocks, or you buy bonds, or venture capitalism. Money makes money, which is great for the rich. The rich get richer. But if you don't have any money to begin with, how are you going to make any money?
You can't.
You can't. I don't think most people realize that America is considerably richer than even England. England is a very poor country. It has a lot of rich people in it, dotted around. But in general, it's a very poor country. The average life for the average low-income worker in England is terrible. And there's no chance of ever getting out, ever. And if you voice your concerns about these things, well, then you go to jail, because there's no free speech now. You can't tweet about it. You can't put it on Facebook. You can't mention any of these things.
Right.
You can't talk about it. So you just have to sit there and slowly die, I guess. I mean, America still has at least free speech to a degree, at least some semblance of social mobility. But how long will that last with a wide open border, a terrible economic policy, endless money printing, an elite class of politicians who are interested primarily in how much they can steal? You know, I don't think many people really understand how detrimental and destructive corruption is to a government. Because that's what destroys all these poor African and South American countries, is corruption. You can't run a business with corruption. Imagine you had a normal business and you buy the water for $1 and you sell it for $2. But the guy who drops the water off wants 10 cents. And then your shopkeeper, when he takes it in, he wants 10 cents. And then the guy who rings it up wants another 10 cents. And the guy who brings the plastic bags, he wants 10 cents for himself. By the time you sell that water, no money's made.
That's mob stuff.
Yeah, because everybody.
It's mob stuff.
Because everybody's stealing.
Everybody's stealing.
So,
but in the mob, they don't care, because they'll steal it blind, and then it'll collapse, and they'll move on to the next project. That's it.
So maybe we have, like you put in your book, mafia democracy. Maybe we have mob in charge of America now who are just trying to steal and rape as much as they can to let it burn. Because I don't think many people understand, when you talk about globalists, Alex Jones, these people talk about globalists, and they're like, okay, but what is a globalist? Well, I'll explain very simply what a globalist is. The globalist is the kind of person who is not linked to any geographical area. He can go anywhere in the world. He has enough friends and enough money to be anywhere. And he'll make decisions for his profits which detriment a specific geographical area. So like you have a man who will cut down the trees in the rainforest for his profit, but he doesn't live in the rainforest, so he doesn't care. It's exactly the same if you look at America now. The people who want all these migrants to turn up and work low-paid, basically no-paid jobs. I mean, I understand if you're a billionaire and you have a factory and you want people to turn up with no health insurance, and they're going to come and they're going to work and the job's going to get done and you're going to make more profit, that's fine. But how does that affect the community? Well, he doesn't live in the community, so he doesn't care. So America's just got to the point now where everyone is trying to protect their profits as opposed to protect the country, and the country's being exploited. And one day it's going to all blow up. And when it blows up, all of these people will be found somewhere else. And that's the very unfortunate reality of it. We need to build something or bring something back. And this is what Trump's so amazing at, is putting America first genuinely. America first over everything else. And it's a race. And they're starting to catch up with us. You know, have you ever thought about this? I mean, you probably know better than me, but do you think once China's in charge, they're going to be nice to us?
Absolutely not.
You think we're going to ever have a chance to get first place back?
Never.
Or do you think they're going to crush us ruthlessly?
It's over at that point. You know, I got to go into something. This hatred that people have with Trump. Now, you know, people go, oh, you're a Trump lover. I said, I'm not a Trump lover. You know, there's a famous, you know, Bill Parcells, famous coach. He said something once when they were giving him all these, you know, adulations for the team, for the Giants, and he looked and he said, you are what your record tells you you are. That's it. Don't say we're better. Don't say we're worse. We are what our record tells us we are. So I look at Trump, and I have no relationship with Trump. You know, he's a guy that for 4 years did a good job for the country.
Yep.
Everybody knows it. Everybody was living better. I have no horse in this race other than to see that happen again,
Yep.
and that's why I look at Trump. But this hatred that people, I've never witnessed anything like that. And the only answer for that is that he just didn't go along with the swamp, as he calls, as we all know it. He didn't go along with it, and they hated him for it to a point where they were ready to kill this guy. I've never seen such venom for any one person in politics that's done nothing. You know, and every label they've put on him has been false. As far as everything they've accused him of, the 2 impeachments, the whole Mueller investigation.
It's all a lie.
Everybody, it was all a lie, and they continue.
But I think the common average idiot liberal who you see who the dislike they have for him is truly venomous. It's truly
Yeah,
venomous.
It is.
I don't know. Sometimes you look and you just see a rabbit dislikes a fox just because the fox is capable and the rabbit really isn't in that situation. I don't know if these people are just so helpless, this learned helplessness, this constant, to a degree, self-loathing or loathing of other people. These people are not happy. They're not balanced. I don't think these people are even interested in success. These people can't even get out of bed and try and make their house look presentable. How can you trust these people to choose someone to make a country presentable? I think these people are just broken people who are genuinely sad in and of themselves and are so filled with hate and vitriol. They've been pointed and directed at Trump by the Matrix itself, and they just want somebody to attack. I really believe these people are just sad, broken people. And even if you were to sit down with them and spend hours explaining that the country will be better if Trump wins, they don't want that. They don't want it to be better. They don't want it to be better. They don't want the world to be better. They don't want life to be better. They just want to somehow win some ideological argument, or they want their pathetic worldview validated. What do we say about truth? The world will be better if Trump wins. That is the truth. Here's the math. 2 + 2 = 4. But if the other team wins, I'll feel better because I don't like Trump for X, Y, Z, or because Kamala said something once I listened to 2 years ago. So I want 2 + 2 = 5. The world will not be better if Trump wins. It'll be better if Kamala wins because of some subjective absolute garbage. These people have lost a grip on reality. They've lost a grip on reality. You know, I've never studied democratic systems. Probably something I should do. But I feel like if it was tax-paying males, all these problems would go away. You know, people who pay into the system.
Yeah.
People who vote for the leader who gets to decide if he sends them to die in a war. That would fix most of it, right?
Yeah.
But we have this insane system now, especially in America, where supposedly anyone can vote without ID, which completely undermines the legitimacy of any election anyway.
I don't even understand that. I mean, 198 Democrats voted for no ID to register to vote. It's insanity.
So what is a vote? So what is a vote? Just who can get the most pieces of paper in a box now?
Yeah.
That's
it.
the vote?
That's it.
Who can get the most pieces of paper in a box?
Absolutely.
And I mean, in Venezuela, I'm no expert on Venezuelan politics, but someone asked me after the Venezuelan election and Maduro won, they said, do you think Maduro cheated? They're accusing him of cheating. And I said, you want me to be honest with you? I've been around long enough to know that both sides were cheating. It's Venezuela. Both sides cheated.
Right.
But at least when both sides cheat, you have a competence test of who's a better cheater.
Exactly.
At least you have some degree of competition.
Exactly.
But in America now, we have one team cheating,
Yeah.
the other team letting them cheat as long as they can steal along beside them and pretend to be against them.
Yeah.
And then you seem to have one man coming along trying to fix it all, surrounded by snakes and traitors, it seems. Bro, Trump's doing God's work. He's a very
I believe that.
brave man doing God's work, trying to save the country he loves. Because he understands once America falls, the entire world is going to be different. America's an individualistic country. It's based on individual exceptionalism. China's a collectivist country, right? It's China, once they're in charge, it's about the ant farm. It's not about the ant. And you're going to be living in a society where you'll be expected to sacrifice yourself for the good of the ant farm. That's how they work. I was speaking to somebody else. You know a little bit about this. You know a little bit about jail. But since I got out of jail, I've been researching legal systems because I've been enjoying the Romanian legal system and all of its garbage. Yeah, exactly.
Say,
Exactly.
Oh, God. Sorry
exactly.
about that. When you say enjoying, damn it.
Exactly. So,
Cut that out, guys.
so I've been enjoying the Romanian legal system. So I've been looking up other legal systems.
Yeah.
And there's a attitude, typically in the West, about innocent till proven guilty and individualism and that person must be proven guilty. There's a lot of legal systems where the sanctity of the state and the idea that the state doesn't make mistakes is more important than an individual liberty. There are legal systems where they say, Japan, which is a first world nation, is our ally. They have a 98% conviction rate. You go to court in Japan, you go to jail.
You're done.
And the goal there is they're saying making the state look like they got something wrong would do more damage to society than we can accept. So innocent people sometimes just go to jail. That's just how they view it. That's a collectivist mindset. And that's what China's like. That's what a lot of these countries are like. When we lose American individualism, that's what's going to come, which brings us further down the slave programming. And I'll tell you who they'll come for first, the people who talk. I mean, that's who they're going to come for first. They're going to come for anyone who sticks their head up. They're already doing that.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get rid of anyone who speaks about the symptoms as opposed to fix any diseases. Because the disease is contingent and important for them to be able to continue to steal. And that's all they want to do is just rob. And it feels like America is just getting used while they, I mean, I don't have any proof of this, but the Middle East is getting more powerful. Certain countries in Africa, certain countries in South America, the global South, the second world nations are getting more and more and more powerful. I feel like they're just going to rape America till it burns and just try and make someone else in charge.
Do you think it's time for America to fall?
Well, empires don't last forever, but there's always some indicators, right? I mean, there are very few empires throughout history, and there's been some, who were destroyed primarily and only because of outside influence. Man, you know this better than me. I bet if you had a mob with no treason, no treachery, no snakes, no backstabbing, no rats, even the cops couldn't get in.
Absolutely.
It takes one. It takes insidious. It's the insidious betrayal of cowards that destroys anything. And now look at what we have in America. There are people who hate America, in America, who want to see America burn, or at least change it so drastically it's not America anymore. And these are the people that are going to destroy America much more before China or Russia or Iran do. It's going to be the people inside of the nation. That's what's going to happen. And it's going to fall in real time.
Well, immorality, which is rampant in our country, a weakened weakened military, I'm sorry, and financial issues. And we've got them all.
Well, how do you convince people to fight if they don't get a vote? I mean, surely that's the bare contingent to tell men to go die in a ditch, that you get to come back and vote. You go to fight in Afghanistan for 4 or 5, 6 years, you come home, vote, they rig it. I mean, I love America and I love the West, but even I can't with good conscience tell anyone to go die in that military now. For what? Yeah. Especially when you're not even defending the shores of your country. I understand why the Russians are signing up and why Putin has no problem finding soldiers. They're fighting on the border of Russia for Russian sovereignty.
Right.
We're sending our people to die for banks, God knows where.
And Tristan made a good point. He said, you know, people that have fought in a war should have 2 or 3 votes.
They risked it
because
all.
They risked their lives, which there's nothing more important than that. You know, and people, but they want to put people that just walked into the country to vote, that have no say whatsoever, no sweat in the game, nothing. And it has to be some grand plan. I believe, I've said this since day one, the only issue at the border was to bring these people in and somehow get them to vote and turn every state blue so they never get out of power. This is nothing but a power struggle. That's all it is.
My view on the whole illegal immigrant thing is I don't believe most of them are even going to vote. To be honest with you, I don't believe they're even going to vote. I think they're just letting them in so that they can rig the ballot boxes themselves and blame them. I mean, I have enough of a brain. I've been around the world enough to know that if an illegal immigrant bothers to cross across the jungle and risk his life and sneak into America, he's trying to eat, he's trying to sleep, he's trying to find a way to get on with his life. I can't see him standing in line at a government office box for a language he doesn't truly understand. Even if you tell him this particular party will allow you to stay, this one won't. I just can't see them all getting in line and getting out there and waiting their turn to cast a vote. I don't think so at all. I think they're letting all these people in so that they can rig the election how they want, so they can steal millions of votes, blame it all on people we never know who they are and we can't check it. And it's all just a big setup. I don't even think the illegals are going to vote themselves. I think they're just going to rig it from the beginning. And then you end up in a position where democracy doesn't work anymore. What comes after that, right? We'll have this illusion of garbage democracy, but that's going to shatter in real time. Maybe Trump's job is just to highlight the fact that the system doesn't work anymore. But what comes afterwards?
No.
I mean, America can't survive the breakdown of democracy. I don't see how it can survive it. It's too fragmented. There's nothing unifying it. There's nothing that's going to hold it together besides this idea of freedom and democracy. What else do they have?
You think if we lose this, when I say we, Trump loses this election, do you think America that's it? That's their final chance?
I think that's their final chance. I don't think it'll ever be the same again. I think that it's going to be a signal to not only anyone with a brain, but also anyone with power to get what they can and prepare to get out. I really believe there's going to be a lot of people start building lifeboats. You know what's quite interesting about America? I've always found this interesting, is that American wealth is quite centralized. Like, I grew up in England. I'm born in America. I grew up in England. If you get rich in England, you consider a house in Spain, or you consider a house in Dubai,
Right.
or you consider a house in Italy. If you get rich in America, you consider a house in California or Miami. It's all kind of there.
Yeah.
Most people don't consider other places. They consider
true.
another state.
Absolutely.
That's how America kind of is. I think once large swaths of the American population, especially the wealth, start to think, you know what, we might need something somewhere else, that there's going to be a huge brain drain and wealth drain. And you highlighted earlier how much debt they're in. I mean, they can't afford these kind of things. They can't afford all of the money to start saying, you know what, we don't feel safe here anymore. And
You got all the wealthy in the country now building bunkers.
I mean, I have to respect the patriotism of Americans. I mean, they want to fight it out to the end, and I respect that absolutely. But there's going to be a large group of people, and the reason I'm saying this is because of England. I think England last year lost 7 or 8% of its millionaires. Everyone left. Everyone went to Dubai, Italy, Spain. Anyone with money looked around at the crime and just thought, I'm out. Once that starts happening, you have real problems, because then the country gets poorer, and then the poor get poorer, and then they want more from the government. So the person who wins is the person who promises them even more. That took about further down the rabbit hole to socialism, further down the rabbit hole to forever country debt, further down the rabbit hole to needing the government to survive. And this is what happens. America was built on individual exceptionalism and rich people paying taxes and building these big companies and all this brilliance. And it's just collapsing in real time with envy and pettiness and hatred. Man, it's sad to see. It's sad to see because, I mean, you say you're 73, I'm 37. The other way around. I'll be alive to watch all this stuff.
Yes.
And the world is speeding up. What used to take 100 years now takes 10.
Quick, right.
I mean, I really think in 50 years, America is going to be a completely different place. And how it looks, I think it depends on this election, and it's kind of scary. And I feel like, I guess one of the reasons I'm anxious, I've done this, Michael. I've looked at a globe. Okay, where do I go? You end up looking at Iceland and Svalbard and these tiny little islands. I mean, what does anyone really want? You want your family safe. You want to be treated fairly under the law.
Yes.
You want to be left alone. Isn't it remarkable that that's so hard to find?
You know, I've been starting to, reality is kicking in. I've been starting to look myself. I said, what are we going to do? Because again, I don't think we survived 3.5 years. Another 4 years of this after the last 3.5. But yeah, that's a good question. Where do you go?
Well, the worst thing about it is, you know what the actual worst thing about it is? The American collapse won't be people turning on the government, who are the ones who did it. It'll be the Americans turning on each other. The worst thing about it is when the rich get in trouble, they're very good at turning the poor people on the poor people. I've never seen a rich black person meet a rich white person and be racist, ever.
Never.
They're rich. They're rich.
Absolutely.
Racism doesn't
100%.
exist once you're rich.
100%.
You walk into the yacht dealership, it doesn't matter what color you are. You can be purple. They don't care.
100%.
But as soon as things get hard, the rich do very good at turning the blacks on the whites, on the Dems, on the whoever, and they manage to just mix it all up, let them all fight while they're jet fuels every single time.
I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't see racism in America anymore, not in this generation. I really don't. And the funny thing, it's if you go on social media now, it's all the blacks that are talking negative about Kamala Harris that see through her whole game.
Yep.
And it's the whites that are supporting her.
Yep.
They see through her game.
Yep.
Especially in California.
Yep.
Because she locked up so many black guys there for nonsense, for
Yep.
BS. They see through it, even the black women.
Yep.
But it's the white women and white guys that are supporting her. And they're supposed to be, allegedly, the educated ones.
Well, what do we say? They don't like objective truth. They want to see a truth that makes them feel good. This is the thing that's so interesting about morality, because I argue these things all the time, especially when it comes to immigration. People say, oh, but people need a better life, and they believe they're moral, but they can't think one step further down the chessboard. Okay, you believe you're moral allowing people into the country without a passport. You believe you're doing the right thing.
Oh.
If those people kill people, that's not a moral decision to make. Can't you think one layer deeper? Can't you understand you're destroying the country and innocents are dying? Can't you understand you're encouraging more people to now flee that country and some of them will die on the way? Like, you're not even making a moral decision. What's so interesting to me is that not only are these people stupid, but somehow they believe, and even, I think it's a mistake of us as well, sometimes we talk about them like they have a mindset of morality that we don't quite have. We try and sound like we're the hard, tough ones, and we sit and say, like, well, listen, I'm realistic and you're idealistic and you're more, you have these moral ideals. No, our ideals are moral. Protection is moral. Preventing bad things happening to the people who are already in the country is moral. Preventing a breakdown of services is moral. Making sure the people who tried to get into America legally and followed the system are rewarded is moral. Law and order, these things are moral. You need to have these things. It's actually immoral to say that all the rules can constantly be broken.
But Andrew, I would bet my entire life on the fact there is no humanitarian reason whatsoever that they're having this people coming over the border. They don't care about that. They don't care about anybody. Put those people in their neighborhood, forget it. They'll be screaming, and we've already seen that. But let me ask you this. This is interesting. As a Christian, we have our Bible.
Yeah.
America doesn't exist. You can't find it anywhere. What do you think? What do you think happens? It doesn't exist. And I look biblically, I said, maybe this is our time. Maybe that's where, I'm not saying in the next 5-10 years, but maybe this is the pattern, and this is the beginning of the real destruction and downfall of America.
I've heard that from a lot of people. The world has ended a lot of times. The world has ended many times before, and like a new world comes from it, but the world can end and people can experience a world-ending event. Imagine you lived in, I don't know, Hamburg in World War II. It pretty much would feel like the world was ending.
Yeah.
I mean, the planes are dropping bombs and everybody's dying, the whole place is on fire and there's nowhere to go, and Germany's gonna lose, and if you have any kind of money or resource or brain, you might be able to run to surrender to the Americans, because if you surrender to the Russians, you're in big trouble. The world ends and bad things happen. And a new world is built from it, but there is always a generation of people who have to experience the world ending. And I feel like we might be that generation this time. Like something's gonna happen big. And it's gonna be nasty, and it's gonna be ugly, and there's gonna be a world-ending event. And then you have to look and, like you said, what galvanizes people, what keeps people together enough to resist these kind of things? What's gonna keep humanity together? What's gonna keep America together? What's gonna keep people functioning? I mean, my theories, and I've talked about this on podcasts, is I believe the next version of humanity is going to be a technological empire where they control absolutely everything we've ever done. I think that technology is going to be used against us, and we're going to have QR codes in our arms, and they're going to know everywhere we go, and they're going to know everything we say, and they're going to know where we drive, and we're going to have carbon credits, and a certain amount of money is going to be allowed to us. I think all of that's coming, which is, of course, a form of slavery. I guess you have to ask, are the elites happy to let America all blow up so they can come along and implement that? Maybe they need the fire to implement it. Maybe they need the forest fire. People have only ever given up their freedom for safety. It's all you give up your freedom for, right? If you say, you're taking away my freedom, if they say, yes, but you'll be safe. COVID proved that.
Yeah.
So maybe they want it all to burn. Maybe they have no intention of stopping it from burning. Maybe they want it to get worse and worse until it gets to a point where people will do anything to feel safe again, including stamp that QR code on their forehead.
Yeah.
And then you just get to live as a machine, I guess, and that's the human spirit and human ingenuity gone. I mean, once artificial intelligence outpaces the human mind, which isn't far off, what do they even need individual exceptionalism for? What do they need your life experiences and your ability to articulate them for when they have an AI machine that can do it 1,000 times better?
Yeah.
What's left for humanity besides being slave drones who obey with no one who's particularly exciting or excellent or interesting or different? The AI handles all of that. The machine keeps us all in control. The server's buried underneath a mountain somewhere. The elites are on God knows which island, and we're just left with the mess. And there will be a point in history, I really believe this, even when I go through my problems or you recently got matrix attacked, I really think they're going to look back to this period in history to see who was trying to say what's going to happen. I really believe this is the point they're going to say, you know what, it was around the 2025, 2035, something could have stopped what ended up happening. Who even realized? And perhaps I get some solace from at least knowing we'll be on the right side of it all, because I really don't think anyone's going to look back on our points of view and think we were wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, I think if this election goes this way, this is the biggest scam that was ever put on the American people. If she wins this election, the way they're engineering it now, I got to tell you, it's brilliant. There's no question. It's brilliant the way they're doing it, just recreating her. I believe if this happens, she stays in power, comes into power, whatever, I think that's the really beginning of our downfall. I mean, we're slowly falling off a cliff, but I think it's going to be a sharp fall at that point.
Well,
I'm honestly,
it's going to be a signal to the rest of the world that now's the time to hit America.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, look all the things people have done under Biden.
Yeah.
Like, I understand Putin and I understand his motivations, and I believe he has the will to really do the best for the Russian people. I believe all of that. I believe he's competent. I believe he's smart. But I also don't believe he would have done what he did under Trump.
No way.
I believe he knew.
No way.
I believe he knew it's now or never.
No way.
It's now or never, and we're going to do it. Because Putin cares about Russia. And when you care about Russia, you want America weak. Did you ever watch the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin?
I watched some of it, yeah.
And people were expecting Putin to say the same things.
Yeah.
I found this really interesting because Putin talks on stage how America's run by Satanists, globo homo, they're destroying the family unit, America's going to collapse, it's going to implode under its own decadence. He says all these things. And everyone was really worried. The whole establishment, the Matrix media machine, was coming hard on Tucker, saying if he interviews Putin, he deserves to go to jail, he's a traitor. And when he sat down with Putin, Putin didn't say any of that. Putin talked about Russian history for an hour, all the way back to the year 700. And then when they asked him questions about America, he said, I'm not really that interested in what America does. I'm interested in what Russia does. I don't really care. And he said nothing really of significance. And people were sitting there a bit confused, saying, why didn't
expect the devil to come out in him?
Yeah,
Everybody
they're like,
see the devil.
That's right. They're like, why didn't Putin tell the American population that they're run by Satanists? Why didn't he say the things he always says normally? Why didn't he wake people up? Putin doesn't want the Americans awake.
Right.
Putin wants Russia to win. We may look at Putin with respect because we understand he knows how to run a country. Putin doesn't want the Americans to understand we're run by Satanists. He wants us to sleepwalk into oblivion so that Russia can win.
Exactly.
So he sat there and made sure he said nothing that's going to wake up the average American person. People in China, the leaders of China, leaders of Russia, leaders of the Middle East, etc., they're waiting for America to collapse.
Yeah.
And in many ways, truthfully, I believe they're praying for Kamala to win. There's some of them sitting there going, if they mess this up, they're going to give us another chance to put another nail in that coffin.
Oh, no doubt they want Kamala to win.
They don't want Trump sitting there.
No, I was thinking if they thought, prior to her, to Biden stepping down, I thought that if they believed Trump was going to win, that they were going to do something drastic within the next couple of months before he took office.
Yep.
But who knows now? And I still feel that might happen. If they feel that this is turning a little bit, she starts answering some questions for them. Can you believe that you have a presidential candidate that's what? A month already has not answered one question to a reporter. Not one. And she's getting away with it. It's the basement strategy with Biden. They're doing the same thing with her, just keeping the people ignorant. She doesn't have to respond to anything. I'm saying it's the greatest scam ever put across this country. It's unbelievable. And getting away with it.
I wish these people were sentient enough to even speak to, because I don't think they are. I think they're just robots. But I'd say, do you think that Kamala's top 10% smartest women in America?
God.
The top 10%. We can argue Trump's one of the top 10. You can even say top 20% smartest men in America. I'm not saying he's the smartest guy. He's been around. Do you think Kamala is the best female we have of 330 million people? Do you think she's the top 10% smartest women? I know women who work at a grocery store who know more about the world and have more street smarts and more wit and more grit than her, who are more prepared to stand up and fight for the American people than she is. It's incredible. She's the bottom percentile. But truth isn't real. All that's real is feelings. This is why they attack masculinity so hard, because masculinity is very logically based. Femininity as a whole is emotionally based. And the reason they try and spread femininity and feminism and put women in charge and bring a matriarchy around and feminize men is because once people think emotionally, nothing is real anymore. Nothing is true or false. It's all about, can you convince them of, can you scare them enough? Can you give them enough of an argument to? It's not a matter of logically it doesn't make sense. It's, well, I feel. I feel I'm a good person if. Well, then it's wide open, right? There's no longer, it doesn't make any sense. There are people who truly believe that there shouldn't be a border to a country and that countries don't need borders and that that's racist to have a border.
Yeah.
You know what's so interesting about these arguments? Every Islamic country has a border. Every African country has a border. China has a border. Russia has a border. There's not a country in the world without a border besides these Western nations that are self-imploding. You know, we talk about morality and you gauge morality. It's interesting because I was also talking to someone else and they were saying, well, what are you supposed to do at the southern border? And I said, I'll tell you what I would do. And this will get a lot of people calling me immoral, but this is what I would do. I'd build a wall. I'd give a 2-week notice so everybody understood. It'd be blasted in every language from loudspeakers and it'd be all over all the news. You have 2 weeks until we start using deadly force. Don't come near this wall. Mm-hmm. Nobody would get accidentally shot because they've been warned and they knew.
Right.
That's what you do, because if you're not prepared to pull the trigger, what can you do? I mean, water cannons, fences, you can do X, Y, Z, you can pick them up, you can try and deport them. They're going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming. You think Russia doesn't use deadly force at its border?
Of course.
You think China doesn't use deadly force at its border? You think the United Arab Emirates and Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait, every country in the world uses deadly force at its border. And I guess I'm just hoping to come to you for some answers about, they're coming for our children. Mm-hmm. That's obvious. We don't have a border anymore. Throughout history, the hill to die on was always your land, your women, your children. They've taken it all. What's it going to take for people to finally wake up? What's the hill to die on? I mean, surely the hill to die on was them psyoping your kids into removing their genitals. Surely the hill to die on was a wide open border where people can flood in and murder your wife.
No.
What's the hill to die on? What's left?
That's what I'm saying. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't have that answer because it's mind-boggling. It really is. When you say they're coming for our kids, I mean, when they're taking, you know, the rights of parents to have any kind of say-so over their kids, changing their gender, getting gender-affirming surgery, which is basically mutilation. They want to destroy the family unit, no question. They want to control our kids from early on because they don't have any kids of their own.
Of course.
So they got to take ours. And people don't see this.
And that's only part of the psyop, right? Part of the psyop is you as a parent cannot stop your child from changing gender. That's the first part. That's the end result of the psyop. The beginning of the psyop is we're going to inflate the currency to the point where both parents are working, so you barely see your own kids because you can't afford to be at home. There is no mom staying home with the kids anymore.
Right.
No, you're both working to pay a job. They're going to go to school. You're not going to have any idea what the educational board's going to teach them. They're going to be on the internet. We're going to push all this transgender garbage to the front of YouTube. We're going to push it all to the front. So the actual beginning of the psyop is removing the parental control over the child, letting the school and the internet raise them, forcing that full of propaganda. And then the final nail in the coffin is once they've been brainwashed and psyoped, because you as a parent, by the time you finish work, clean the house, you have an hour a day with your kids if you're lucky, competing with 12 hours a day of indoctrination. Then you don't have a say over what your child then decides to do after being brainwashed by the machine. And the machine is deliberately designed to be as addictive as possible. It's designed to be entertaining, designed to get clicks, designed to be congested and watched and ingested, and you're supposed to sit there and they stare at these screens for hours a day. And then finally, when push comes to shove, you're not allowed to stop them. That is the final nail in the coffin. It's absolutely incredible. And that's why they have no problem with inflating the currency and putting both parents out to work and sending your kids off to school to some educational board to teach them absolute garbage. I think they were doing this also with vaccines. They were vaccinating kids without their opinion.
Absolutely.
Without their permission.
Absolutely.
I mean, they came for the kids, they came for the land. Their women aren't safe to walk the street anymore. I don't know what hill we're supposed to die on. I don't know what it's going to take for people to realize that. Maybe people just aren't well traveled enough. You know, there are first world nations where you can walk around safely. Your kids aren't taught garbage. Men, women, family. Like there's a lot of countries. There's so many beautiful cities in the world you can go to. You ain't got to worry about anything bad happening to you. You can wear a nice watch. You can drive a nice car. These places do exist. In America, we seem to believe that it'd be impossible to have a large city without these issues. I can name 20.
Yeah.
They're all over the world, but man, it's scary.
Well, listen, I don't know how it's going to end, but I'm normally a very optimistic guy, but I feel very pessimistic about what's happening here in the next couple of months in America. I don't know. I mean, I'm making plans myself if this doesn't work out. You know, if she becomes president, I'm leaving. Not for that. I'm worried about the destruction of my country as I know it.
Yep.
And I'm saying, you know, what am I going to do? Where am I going to take my kids and my grandkids? You know,
I don't understand how any red-blooded male with half a brain isn't slightly anxious in the world today.
gotta be.
If you have half a protective instinct inside of
Have
you,
to be.
you have to be thinking as you go to sleep at night, what am I going to do if this happens? And if you're not thinking that way, perhaps you're part of the problem, because it's glaringly obvious what their intentions are. And their intentions are to lock up anyone who talks about what they're going to do and burn it all to the ground for themselves. That's the intention.
And it seems like it's very difficult to stop at this point because, you know, look, I always said this, you know, real downfall of our country is when the media is starting to be controlled by the government in power. And that's what's happening. They don't tell the truth anymore. They don't report the news anymore. All they do is cover for the current administration. Yep. When that happens, people don't get the news. They don't know what's really going on. It's all about propaganda. It's like Russia, China, anywhere else.
Yep.
You know, that's happened big time. And then, of course, weaponizing the government agencies to go after their political enemies. And they're all worried about Trump doing that. This guy's been the victim of that for years now. And they're worried about him doing it. And people buy into that. They don't see what's happening.
Another thing that's scary, I completely agree with you, but you know why it's even scarier in America than these other places? Because you look at, I don't know, we take China, for example. The state media is propagandists for the government and the regime. Understand, fine. But you know who runs the government. So you know who at least the boss is. Mm-hmm. So at least if people are unhappy, even if they're being bombarded with propaganda, even if the government controls how the country works, and even if it's a very controlled society, if people are unhappy, they at least know who to point the finger at.
Yeah.
I think the scariest thing about the West now is nobody's accountable because nobody knows who the boss is. You believe Biden's right now calling shots?
He never was.
So who has it been? And you can go WEF or Globo Homo or this group or that group or the banks or the media. We don't even know who's in charge anymore.
You're right.
You want to talk about removing responsibility. Well, to remove responsibility, you remove accountability, right?
Yeah.
If you're sitting in front of a pile of money and nobody knows who you are, you can steal it. If there's a big pile of money and they say Andrew Tate's sitting in front of that money, as soon as something's missing, they know who to go for.
They know where to go.
So we don't even have accountability, which is the most basic point and one of the tenets of democracy in the first place, to know who's supposed to be in charge so we know who's responsible for things. It's just passing the buck, lying, shadow orgs, this forever bureaucrats who've been in power for 20, 30 years. I mean, I don't even know. I'm sure there's some position somewhere deep in the government where you get to make perhaps not laws, but regulations.
Yeah.
What's the difference? You just do them as you want.
Same
Nobody
thing.
knows your name.
Exactly.
And you operate with impunity, and you've been there forever. And, I mean, Putin did say one very interesting thing in his conversation with Tucker when Tucker was trying to press Putin about the Ukraine war.
Yeah, he wouldn't respond.
He wouldn't really respond, but he did allude to something. He said, well, I don't talk to Biden, I don't talk to the president. He said, my security service is, they speak to the CIA. So I guess the CIA's in charge.
Yeah.
Are they democratically elected?
No. Oh, no.
I mean, I guess the CIA are in charge now. That's a guess. But there's a lot of people now trying to put their fingers in this pie and walk out with a whole bunch of it. And there doesn't seem to be very much left for the common person. Very interesting, very scary position we're in. And I guess the answer is just to try and get people to pay attention long enough to see the truth and to speak about it and to not believe the garbage anymore. I really believed after COVID they couldn't do something like that again. And then I saw this Kamala crap.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, you know what, they might even be able to pull
They're doing
off,
it again.
They might
Yeah,
be able to pull it
100%.
off all over again.
100% doing it again. This race shouldn't even be close. There should be anybody with a brain should look and say, look, I can't go through this anymore. I see what's happening. It's right in front of my eyes.
Yep.
But they deny it, or they don't see it, or they're just ignorant.
Yep.
But that's such a level of ignorance that's beyond belief. So there has to be more to it. I don't know. I just don't get it. This hatred that they got for this guy, the guy that did a good job when he was in office, all these things that are happening. And, you know, another thing too, this whole transgender move. I mean, I've been very outspoken about it, you know. And listen, I probably have the same feeling as you. Do what you want.
Yep.
Don't force it on me.
Yeah.
Don't force it on my kids. Don't tell me I have to celebrate Pride Month for a month. Don't tell me I have to do it. Why? I'm not forcing my beliefs on you. Why are you doing that to me?
Veterans get a day,
You know?
and they get a month.
A day. Every holiday gets a day,
Yep.
just about.
Yep.
And they get a month.
It's the final attack on objective morality. It's the final attack on truth. Once they can force you to look at the sky and say it's green, they win. Then it's over. The slave programming is fully installed. Once they can force you to look at a man and say it's a woman, then they finally win. Now there's no such thing as truth. You ignore your own eyes. No matter what your eyes tell you, you believe the news over your eyes. And how do they do that? Well, they do that by forcing you to at least say it. Most people in most jobs, they'll lose their job if they don't say it.
Absolutely.
They have to say it.
They have to say it.
If you say it enough, eventually you'll stop thinking the opposite.
Yeah.
And they just slowly grind down the population. That's what they're going to do until eventually. We talk about transgenderism now as if it's controversial. And 100 years from now, it's going to be the most, oh yeah, why was it, she, he, back and forth. Blah, blah. Slowly, slowly. And I guess when you talk about the enemies of freedom, one of the things they do very well is that they think generationally. They think my son's son will be in charge of this mess, hopefully one day. So I'll set up this garbage now. It may take 60, 70 years to get in, but in the end, we'll get what we want. You know, it's kind of interesting. People often think that a lot of things are done for money, and a lot of them are. But money is power, and it's the power they really want.
100%.
I mean, you know better than me. Money gets boring. Power never
about
really
power.
gets boring.
It's all about the power.
Power stays fun.
Absolutely.
And you always want more.
Absolutely. It's all about money and power.
And that's what they really want. And they're prepared to destroy the entire economy and set it all on fire because they print the money anyway.
Yeah.
They'll have food. They'll be fine. But they want you on your knees begging.
Yeah.
That's what they want. That's what they really want.
And it's working. They're getting it. You know, I'll tell you this right now. If any transgender guy, if whatever they call themselves, walked into a bathroom with my daughter and does anything, I'm going to jail.
100%.
I'm going to jail.
100%. 100%. And it's so disgusting that the same people who want to scream feminism, scream I'm a misogynist,
Exactly.
I'm a
Exactly.
bad person,
Exactly.
scream
I
about
know
how the
exactly what
borders
you're
need to
gonna
be open because people need to have a fair chance at life, are the same people saying that you can put men in women's bathrooms,
Yeah.
and that if women are attacked, that's just something we should ignore and we should eat for the greater good. These people are not moral people.
Where's all the feminist groups?
Oh yeah, where are the feminists? There's no feminists at all.
Why they're not screaming at the top of the? Why they're not, supporting Riley Gaines and everything she's trying to do?
No, they're still screaming about Trump saying something about grabbing her by the pussy 15 years
Yeah,
ago.
20 years ago.
In a locker room.
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, I guarantee you women feel safer around Trump than they do any of these male feminists. I guarantee you any day of the week. They'd rather stand around Trump than they will any of these weirdo male feminists. Unbelievable.
What do you think of this whole transgender two fighters in the Olympics? How did they allow that?
Bro. Again, and that's the thing that's so interesting about the debate on it, right? Because it's like, is she a man? Is she a woman? Well, she was born with this, she was born with that. One board said yes, one board said no. We've reached a level of subjectivity where there's no objective truth. It shouldn't be difficult, man, woman.
No,
It should,
just say no.
It's the easiest thing in the
Yeah.
world, right? But they're gonna, subjectivity is how they're gonna infiltrate everything. Well, maybe, but could be, but exception, but let's blur the lines. They're trying to blur the lines of absolutely everything on purpose now. If you were to ask the average person in America what makes a good person, and you were to say, well, a person who stands up for what he believes is right, and a person who defends his family, and a person who works hard, and a person who, comes home every night to his kids, whatever. I guarantee you, no matter what you give as an answer, there's going to be a lot of people who would disagree with it. Go, that's not a good person actually to... Feminists say you're a bad man if you try and protect and provide for a woman.
Right.
I had Piers Morgan sit there, who I actually half the time. When I said my woman doesn't have to work unless she wants to, she doesn't have to work. He attacked me for that, as if I was a terrible person because, oh yeah, but why wouldn't she work? Well, if she wants to work, she can work, but she doesn't need to work. Why not? Because she doesn't need to, because it's my job to protect and provide. I provide for her. She doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to. Oh, well, that's misogynistic. Why?
Why? What was his response to that? Why?
Well, he didn't have much of an answer. He was just like, oh, because he was trying to accuse me of being misogynistic for believing that men should be coarsened by the difficulties of life, and that a woman's beauty and what's attractive in a woman often is her innocence and her purity. You don't want a woman. I would hate to be with a woman who's been through what I've been through. It would scare me.
Yeah,
Like, you're still alive?
Yeah.
She'd probably be a psychopath. She'd probably be dangerous. You add in the trauma we've been through, plus some female emotionality, plus the ruthlessness of survival many women have, she'd be more dangerous than any man. I wouldn't want to be around her.
I agree.
You know, women are there to be protected. We've always understood that. I don't know why even that's controversial now.
So why, I was going to say, why do you think that it's demeaning to a woman if you say, I'm your protector?
Well, they're trying to pretend, because once again, objective realities become so blurred. They're trying to pretend that a woman can do everything a man can do. In fact, better than a man can, because it's all an attack on masculinity. So they're saying that everything a man can do, a woman can actually do better. And if you take something as baseline as physical violence, which we all know the answer to, they're going to sit there and go, nope, that's not the case. Nope, women can do it just good. A woman could protect herself just as well. You're a misogynist. And there are people who will sit there and regurgitate that and try and defend that point of view with you. There's no objective reality anymore. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, I tell you, I've said to people, I don't want my wife to work. I said, well, why not? Number one, she doesn't have to. And number two, I don't want somebody else telling my wife what to do.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. Why do us men suffer and work at all? Why do we struggle and take all the risks we took to get rich? It's so we can let other people not work. There's a beautiful poem. It's an Arabic poem, and I don't know it word for word. And I can't even quote who made it. I think it was a warlord or a king, but he said, stress is mine, happiness is yours. Pain is mine, joy is yours. But you are mine. And he's like, I suffer, and you get the good side of my suffering, but you're mine. And that's the masculine essence in the first place. That's the reason. I mean, look at Christmas Day. Dad gets the worst presents.
Exactly.
He gives the presents.
He gets a tie.
That's right. That's what men are supposed to do. And that's why we work all year long. And there's a lot of men who are up there now. I mean, I don't know if you saw this in Iceland. Did you see the female strike in Iceland?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, that was amazing.
Yeah.
All the women went on strike because they were complaining they don't get paid as much as men, and the country worked just fine.
Yeah. Yes.
They disproved their point, absolutely. All the HR departments, all the little emails didn't get sent. The roads still worked, the electricity was still on.
Right.
Let all the men stop going to work for a week,
Right.
and you'll see. You know, men are out here suffering all day, every day to protect and provide. But somehow that makes you a bad person. That actually makes you oppressive.
Yeah.
If you make more money than your wife, that's because you're an oppressive. It's the patriarchal system and it's the gender pay gap, and you're oppressive and you're trying to oppress her.
Right. And demean her.
And demean her because you're out there working your ass off for her.
But it wasn't always that way. This is this new generation of thought that's just so upside down. You know, and I believe, and you know, this is a tough conversation because people right away, I believe that women that were never treated that way are the ones that feel that, you know, guys are being misogynists. They never had a guy that went out of their way for them and really treated them like a woman should be treated.
Yep. Oh, no, you're completely right, which is why they look the way they look.
Because if you got treated that way, why would you want anything else?
Oh.
If you had a man taking care of you, respecting you, honoring you, but taking care of you so you don't have to do the things that he has to do, you know, why would you reject that? You wouldn't.
That's right.
But those women that don't get that,
Yep.
they're the ones that scream the loudest.
Oh yeah, the beautiful women love gender roles.
Yeah.
The beautiful women love
Yes.
gender roles.
Yes.
They love gender roles. It's the other team. But they've been weaponized, and they've been with this weaponized morality and us propping up people who really don't have much merit. Perhaps in days of old, you needed to have merit to have a voice. You had to have done something, or you had to have some degree of individual exceptionalism for anyone to listen to you. But now they can come along and take large swaths of idiots and use algorithms to amplify them. And before you know it, completely irremarkable people who have achieved nothing besides hate others have a voice all of a sudden because the algo's been decided to put them to the front so that they can be used to attack those who defend society as a whole. I feel like it's all just a setup. I mean, truthfully, In the 80s, you know, I wasn't born until 86, but in the 80s or the 70s, who would listen to these idiots?
Nobody.
Where would they even talk? Like, who would even
It would
listen
be
to these
like,
people?
These retarded people. We don't even pay attention.
Yeah, completely. But now they're the front page of every fucking news.
But let me ask you this. All of these things taken together, it almost sounds like somebody got in a back room, a group of people got in a back room, and they methodically planned all of this. We're going to open the borders. We're going to make kids independent of their parents. We're going to make guys want to be girls. We're going to push LGBTQ, whatever it's called. It's like one plan that, did some group get together at some point and say, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to take control, maintain power and control? I mean, how do all these things happen at one time, practically? And that's what it seems like. There's some grand scheme that was put into effect by somebody or something.
Yeah, I think the scheme was implemented a while ago and now it's coming to a head. And I think the primary goal, if you add up the objectives of nearly all of those things, is to remove the masculine instinct, remove masculinity because they're the defenders of society. I think that it's always the men who are going to be prepared to die on the hill. So they just want to turn all the men into cowards and pussies, so nobody wants to go and die on that hill so they can do whatever they want.
But when you talk about the deep state, Andrew, do you believe that there's some cynical force behind this, a group of people that really has control and said, this is the way we're going to destroy this to a point where we can take full control over people? Because all these things happening, it's almost at light speed in the last couple of years. It's really moving quick. And people are really buying into this quickly. And I look at our education system. You know, we once was something to be proud of. We were up there in the world. And now we're, 49th or some crazy number. Kids are not even getting educated. And obviously COVID, played a big part in that, keeping kids out of school for a year and a half. It can't even catch up at this point right now. The teachers unions want it that way. They're part of the whole matrix, I believe. But it seems like there was some grand scheme that maybe a couple of years back or at some point in time they said, okay, methodically, this is how we're going to have to work this out so we can maintain power and keep it forever.
Yeah. I have a few theories on who it is and when it started, but I think primarily there's a subsect of the population who are interested in their own bloodline and their own power and their own control, and they're only interested in protecting their own profits, and they understand that the enemy to their profits are going to be the ambitions and the morality of the common man. Having ambitious, moral, perspicacious, normal citizens who can pay attention, who have a strong belief in honor and duty and dignity, and they want to work hard and they want to have a good life for themselves, they're going to be the enemy of these forever prophets and these people who are trying to exploit society. And I feel like their intention has always been to reduce the power of their enemies. What we do, right? That's how war works. You want to reduce the power of your enemy, and they've just come along and thought, the biggest troublemakers, the biggest people who stand in the way to our plan are the moral, are the men who are not afraid, are the brave men who love their family. So let's try and get rid of the bravery. Let's try and get rid of the courage. Let's try and get rid of the family that they're prepared to die for. Let's just attack all these institutions that are inspiring men to stand up. Well, I said this the other day. I said this after I did the process about Jesus. People said, oh yeah, fantastic. You did a great job. And I said, it is great, and I've got a platform, you've got a platform, we're doing our best. But truthfully, you need the common man to stand up to evil. It can't just be a few of us. It has to be a lot of us, which means you need the common man. By extension, common means a lot.
Yeah.
The common man now has been so demoralized, he can't even get a woman who respects him. If you don't have a woman who respects you and you don't have a family, what are you going to fight for? What are you going to die for?
Yeah.
So you're just going to play video games to the end and watch it all burn and make memes and think it's funny, right? So the common man's been so demoralized now, and they've done that with this feminism and this insanity, social media, XYZ. I totally understand, and I'm not blaming women for this, but the average girl is scrolling Instagram trying to catch her ass a millionaire. There aren't enough millionaires. There's a lot of common men out there who can't even get a woman who's going to feed them a nice meal and make them a coffee each morning. How can we expect them to stand up and defend a society where they don't feel respected? They don't have a family. Women treat them like shit. All of this, feminism's got in these women's minds where they think they're too good for anybody. Like, everything's broken from the absolute core. And you're right, this is fairly recent. I mean, I would argue in the 80s, if you're the hot girl in the town and there's a guy in the town and you meet, it is what it is. But now, if you're the beautiful girl in Nebraska, you're on a plane to the Maldives with some dude from Russia.
Yeah.
Like, it's
That's right.
the whole thing's all messed up,
all changed.
you know? And the local dude in Nebraska, what's he left with? And then you're asking him to get on the front line? And you're asking him to defend that society? The common man's been so brutally demoralized that even the ones who understand every word we're saying are like, well, where's my skin in the game? You know, if you don't feel like the king of your household, why would you fight to defend it? You got to have a small kingdom you want to defend. If you feel like the king of your household, you're prepared to not let anyone come anywhere near that house.
Yeah.
But if you're like, well, okay, maybe I got a wife, but she talks to me like shit, and I'm working nonstop. My kids don't listen. Kid is listening to the teacher about LGBT. Like, you're just going to lose your mind. You're just going to sit there and wait to die. It's truly incredible the amount of damage they've managed to do to society on a level of the nucleus of the cell is broken. The constant bombardment, the constant propaganda, the constant inversion of natural gender roles. I would argue you'd struggle to find a house in Russia where the man's not the man of the house. I mean, I'd argue it'd be hard to find.
You know, but now it gets to a point where we have enemies, serious enemies, and these people that are in power, if these enemies ever overtake us, they're not going to be in power anymore.
Right.
And they don't even see that. They don't even get that. It's just the same way like these people that are protesting, that are gays and lesbians, they don't realize that if they were in any place but America, they probably wouldn't exist. The countries that they're supporting, they wouldn't exist.
That's right.
And it's just, I don't know, I guess it's the level of ignorance, or they're so detached from reality that they can't see this.
Perhaps it's not ignorance, you know? Perhaps, if we had to be honest about it, perhaps some people are just self-destructive and they just want to burn everything with them. Perhaps some people just want to see the world burn. Perhaps it's not ignorance. Perhaps they understand what they're doing and they just want to see the world burn. They're bitter and they're sad and they want it all to burn down. They hate the system because they can't win under the system. They hate the meritocracy. They hate the patriarchy where you have to be a man of duty and courage and honor because they can't compete. They feel like they're losing under the current rules and they just want to burn it all to the ground, hoping that perhaps something better will be set up, or even not. Just, we're playing a game of chess. I'm losing because I'm a loser. So throw all the pieces off the board. And if you try and explain to them, well, if you throw the pieces off the board, chaos comes, anarchy comes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I keep losing, so burn it all down. A lot of these people truthfully just want to see the world burn. I believe that they don't even want America to do well, even at their own personal expense. As crazy as that may sound, they're already at the bottom. So, I mean, the scary thing about a meritocracy is you're always going to have 50% of people who are below average in a meritocracy, even if it's a perfectly fair one. I mean, I'm going to say this and get me in a lot of trouble, but I'm going to say it. If you look at the face of a woman who's conservative, who believes in family, and you look at the face of these trolls, it's not hard to see. Like it's not hard to see who's on which side of the fence.
Gets you in trouble, but it's the truth.
It's the truth, right?
No doubt.
So they're just upset with the system, and they just want to burn it all to the ground. They want everyone to suffer. And what's the mistake that's been made is that they've ever got a voice at all. But I guess the question is if that's a mistake or if that was purposely designed. Like we said, who's finding these people? Who's organizing them? Who's amplifying them? Who's getting all these idiots in one place? Who's giving them all the same sign? Who's behind these people? Who's giving them airtime? Who's pushing them to the front of algos? Who's bringing them on? Who's bringing them on the news to even debate their garbage? Who's putting them on the TV? These people should be shunned and ignored. But for some reason, somehow, they're being found and pushed to the front as this very vocal, and I'd argue even now, as crazy as America is, I'd still argue they're a minority. They're a vocal, psycho minority, and they look bigger than they are because they're being amplified. So you want to ask who's destroying the world? Who's amplifying them? Who's finding them and going, this will do more damage to the masculine duty to protect society, and that's what I want to do. So get this person, make her a newscaster, put this idiot up there, and put her on TV 8 times a week, and promote her show. Those shows don't make money.
No.
No one buys those shows. Who's putting them up there? That's what you really have to do. And I guess, if we want to do our research, we should find a list of the 100 top idiots and find out which production companies they work for. We could probably start digging a little bit and maybe get some answers, because there is no way it's a coincidence that they keep finding these clowns and putting them in everyone's face.
Yeah. And you're right, they don't make money for anybody. They're just there.
They're just there,
Yeah.
and it's incredible. The MSM's a perfect example of that. Who buys the media? Nobody. Every government in the world spends endless money keeping these stupid orgs alive to lie to you.
Yeah.
That's it. If they were telling you the truth, you'd have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
If they were telling you the truth, it wouldn't be free. It wouldn't be on in every lounge. It wouldn't be on in every airport. It wouldn't be shoved down your throat. It wouldn't be mentioned all the time. It's all lies. I mean, they have a job to do, and they're paid by the government to lie to you.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Which brings me to the view. Oh my God. I can't look at that for more than 2 or 3 minutes before I want to get sick to my stomach. Who watches these people? Who even listens to them?
I saw a girl who I knew, and she was reading a book, Why Men Love Bitches, I think it was called, and it was a feminist book about why men love women who are horrible, which of course is not the case at all. And I said, have you even looked up the author of that book? She goes, no.
No.
I was like, well, look it up. Like, even I don't know the answer to this. I'm curious. Who wrote this book? Some 55-year-old single woman with no kids.
Of course.
Why are you listening to her? Like, don't you want to qualify your information on any level? Bro, it's incredible. Well, I saw the book on TV. Bro, it's incredible. It's incredible. But it's an orchestrated attempt, which is why they try very hard to stifle our influence. We are the enemies in the information war. It's an information war. It's a war of ideas. We're very much combatants. I was not surprised. I was saying for a very long time before I went to jail, they're going to do something. There's no way they're going to spend all this money and all this time trying to push all these ideas, and I'm going to become so well known against those ideas without them saying, shut him up.
So you knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. That's the way the world is. I mean, my upbringing, I cannot compare to yours, but I know enough about the world to know that if you fuck with people who have control of a certain area, I've seen what happens. I know how it goes.
Did you expect it to happen here?
No.
U.S.?
I refused to fly to America. I refused to do Joe Rogan. I turned down so many opportunities in America because I thought they were the ones who would get it. But I guess the arm is long.
Their influence here.
Their arm is long. So like if it's not Iran, China, or Russia, they can get you basically anywhere.
100%.
So what can you do? And then, I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this yourself. Why don't you just shut up? But then you have to look yourself in the mirror every day, right?
Coward.
That's right. I don't know if I can go down that way. I don't think I can go out as a coward. I have to be at least a thorn in their side to the end.
Absolutely.
Even if I lose. I've got to be the guy who has annoyed them.
Well, it's not only that. You're having a powerful influence on people. People are paying attention. Some of them are. A great majority, not a great majority, but a great number of them are. You know, listen, I've spoken to so many men that follow you, young guys, yeah, really, that follow you. As a matter of fact, I have to ask you this or I'll be in trouble.
All right.
My wife's sister's son, my nephew,
Yeah.
is a huge fan of yours. He's a soccer player.
Okay.
He's actually going to Manchester. They're bringing him. He's 16 years old.
Wow.
And when he heard that I was seeing you, he went crazy. Him and all of his friends, all these 16-year-olds, they're too young to get on your site.
Oh, wow.
But if you give them a shout out,
What's their names?
what's all of them?
There's a bunch of them, huh?
Yeah, it's a bunch of them.
I'll put something together for them.
Yeah. You
For
got
the guys in Manchester, for the Manchester Mandem. I'll put something together.
His name is Will.
Will.
Yeah.
Will, take care of yourself, train hard, become extremely successful, stay off the streets, stay out the clubs, don't go down any of that mess. You're at the height of your energetic powers, and it should all be focused in the correct direction. You'll be glad you used it correctly when you're older. And wishing you the best of success, and hopefully maybe one day in the future I'll be in Manchester. Hopefully, maybe we'll grab a coffee or something.
And we'll pay attention to that now.
Yeah, absolutely, because
See, these are the young guys that you're having a strong influence on. And look, he's a soccer player. He wants to earn money. This is what his thought is. Loves his mom, loves his family. He's a good kid. Yeah. And all the kids in his school that surround him the same way. They need positive role models. Yeah. Andrew, and you're one of them. There's no question.
Well, I do my best. There aren't that many left. I mean, they say I'm so negative and I'm so dangerous, and I say, okay, that's fine. When I sat with the BBC, I said, fine, you have your view on me, that's fine. Then who is leading? Then name someone who's good. They can't even name someone who's good. And if
No.
they do name someone, he's certainly not good. You know, it's like truly crazy. But
Yeah, the leaders that are supposed to be good are not. They're misleading. And you get guys like us that speak our mind, and really, what are we doing it for? You're not looking to take control of the country. I'm not. I don't want anything. I just want a good place to live.
Absolutely.
For my wife and my kids and my grandkids. That's it. I want America to be the America that I grew up in. And let me tell you, I went through tough times on the street, but you know, at least we were criminals.
yeah,
You could kind of say, okay, you know, if they stretch the law a little bit against these guys, even though it's not right, we kind of get it. They're doing some damage, so we got to counteract that in some way. Okay, we get it. But man, when you're doing this to the general population, you're misleading, and you know, Andrew, I got to tell you this. I don't think there's anything worse than somebody getting up there and telling people that are going to rely on them, rely on what you say. They give you your vote. They trust in you. You're going to act in their benefit. And then you get into office and you turn around, you do the exact opposite.
it's fraud.
You're hurting and crushing people. I don't think there's anything worse than that. We didn't do that on the street.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fraud. They should go to jail for what they've done. It's fraud.
Absolutely.
It's fraudulent, and they're lying. You know, it's interesting because you talk about the common man. I guess the biggest rebuttal I get from people is, well, if you just follow the law, if you're just law-abiding, you have nothing to worry about.
Bullshit.
You know better than me. I'm like, have you read the law, sir? Do you understand that you're now entering a position and you're entering a period of history where being a law-abiding citizen isn't even possible unless you really get on your knees and truly accept anything they force you to do?
100%.
You haven't even read the law, and it changes every day. You don't even know what the law is. You're not in a position where you can be a law-abiding citizen and have a family and be left alone and raise them in peace. You can't grow your own food. You can't say anything against what the Matrix propaganda wants you to believe.
Exactly.
You can't even be law-abiding anymore unless you're already a slave. And that's what's so scary, is that there is no law-abiding citizen anymore who's a normal, nice person. That's what's really scary. And you'll know, and I have less experience than you, but I've got enough experience to know how quickly they will twist and turn and lie and cheat their way to an indictment to just try and get you on some subjective garbage for any normal life that any person has ever lived, purely because you spoke against them and their system.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as law-abiding. They can pick up any one of you watching this right now. They could pick you up and they could find a crime.
100%. It's
And
the
they could
classic-
find an indictment and they could
100%.
they could type it up. You know.
It's the classic, the way you investigate a normal crime. A crime occurs and you go out and investigate it and find the perpetrator, find what happened. But in a case like yours or mine or people that they don't like, they're investigating you, waiting to see if you're going to commit a crime or putting you in a situation where it's going to happen.
And trap you. Yeah, they'll just
Yes,
entrap you. Oh,
absolutely.
we can't find enough. Well, then let's just send him to the gas station and we'll set it all up. And then we'll get his ass that way.
Or they'll wire somebody up, have a conversation with you that's a little bit off, and then before you know it, you committed a crime. You didn't even know you did it. Because some guy that was wired up talked to you, made a deal with them. Happens all the time. All the time. And that's how they weaponize. They used to do it against us. Okay, I get it.
Yep.
You trap one of us, you put a wire on them, you're going to go to jail unless you help us. Boom, they come in, they have conversations with us, we're in trouble. We didn't even have to commit the crime. Just talking about it is you know that, right?
Yeah.
Conspiracy. You don't have to commit the crime. Just talk about it. But now they're doing it against legitimate people. They're enemies, that people they don't like. Put you in a situation where you say something, you do something wrong in their view, and boom, you got an indictment and you're in trouble. And then try to defend it. Normal guys, you know, look, when they locked me up, violated my parole, and they went into the bank, they leaned all my bank accounts, they took my car, they did everything, cleaned me out, right? You're getting another RICO indictment. RICO indictment. You don't beat them with a public defender.
Yeah.
I spent millions defending myself.
Tell me about
Normal guy doesn't have that. You know.
Oh, yeah, I
Normal
know.
guy doesn't have that money.
Absolutely.
How do you defend it?
You don't. You die.
You can't.
You just get crushed. You
Can't.
get crushed by the system. So I guess, to put a positive spin in conclusion, I do like to think, though, as messed up as it all is, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and truth is extremely important. And I think it's very important we encourage people to see the truth, tell the truth. Don't be afraid of whatever they're going to label you for the truth. I'll do it again. Feminists are ugly. I'll do it again. There. come at me. It's objectively true. I believe if we get enough people sticking to the truth and saying the truth, it becomes harder and harder for their lies to stick because they are relying on, in fact, they require lies to pull all of this off. It's an empire of lies. And the one thing lies need is a lot of energy. They have to repeat them over and over and over. And it takes a lot less energy to tell the truth, because if you can tell somebody something that just makes sense in their heart and soul, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Anybody with a brain speaks up. When someone says they're not political, or someone says they don't really care, or they're not interested, it's your job not to be aggressive, not to be offensive. But I'm now in the position in my life when we fight for humanity, and I'd be interested in your take on this. If I sit with somebody at a dinner table and they're telling me they're pro-Kamala, and everyone goes, "Oh, don't talk politics." No, I'm sorry. This is for humanity, and I'm going to tell them right here, right there, while I have the chance, that they are wrong, because this is more important than keeping a friendly dinner at a dinner table. We're running out of time, and it's very important that the truth is repeated as much as possible to anybody who is receptive or smart enough to understand it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Take the word politics out of it. It's not about politics, and this is what I tell people. These are about issues that are affecting your lives. It's not politics. Politics is the way they're dealt with, these issues. Yeah. And that's why we have to make choices and put the right people in office. But these are, when you talk about people coming over the border, infiltrating your communities, causing crime, bringing drugs in, that's not politics. That's an issue that's affecting your life.
That's more than politics.
Yeah.
When you're talking about,
yeah, when you're talking about, you know, China and Russia and Iran, you know, our enemies that want to see us fall and want to see us conquered. These are issues that are going to affect our lives. Politics is how they're dealt with, but these are issues. So the way you deal with that is by putting the right people in office, not people that have been lying to you, trying to enslave you, telling you things that are absolutely not true, lying to you over and over again. You know, so it's not about politics, but people can't get that through their head. Oh, I don't want to talk politics. Neither do I. I want to talk about issues that are affecting you. You go to the grocery store, you're complaining about it.
Yep.
Well, why are you putting the same people back in that have been lying to you and causing this?
Yep.
You know, why are you doing that?
That's right.
And you know, and they can't answer. Andrew, they cannot answer. Well, you don't know about Trump. Well, I'm not talking about Trump. I asked you a question. Why are you putting the same people back that have been lying? Make believe Trump doesn't exist.
Yep.
We don't want to talk about him. Why are you doing the same thing that has been causing you all this heartache and all this damage and everything? Why are you doing it again? They don't know. They don't know. They can't answer you. There's so much negativity or lies in their head about the other guy that they can't answer you intelligently, and they'll let it happen again.
Absolutely.
And I don't know about you, that drives me crazy. I can't understand it.
It's very upsetting when, as a man, you've gone through your life, and I speak from personal experience, I spend most of my waking hours trying to keep everyone I know and love and care about safe and fed and paid for, and then some idiot's going to vote in some garbage that's going to make my job 100 times harder or almost impossible. That's very upsetting. That's a direct attack on who I love. That's a direct attack on me. And it truly is sad to listen to, and I agree with you completely.
You know, but what value do we have as men if we can't provide for and protect our families, the people that we love, even people in our communities? You know, back in the day in our community, there was no crime in our community.
I bet there was.
No, you couldn't come in our neighborhood and commit crimes.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen. But what kind of man are you if you can't stand up for that?
Yeah.
You know,
right.
and you ask any woman that's in a good relationship, whether it be a marriage or a boyfriend and girlfriend, they're happy when they have a guy that's taking care of them and taking care of their responsibility. They're not upset.
Yep.
And they don't feel demeaned in any way. They don't feel inferior.
Of course.
They feel, hey, this is the way I'm being treated, the right way.
Absolutely.
You know, I tell people, look, I put my wife on a pedestal.
Yep.
Okay? First of all, she waited for me for 8 years when I was away. The girl went through a lot.
Yep.
She deserves that.
Yep.
You know, can she go to work if she wants to? Yeah. Would I like it? No.
Yep.
I'm being honest.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, I don't want another guy telling my wife what to do.
100%.
That's just how I feel.
100%.
Now, you know, you want to get on me for that and say I'm a misogynist? Okay, if that's your definition of a misogynist, then that's what I am.
Yeah.
But I feel the same way about my daughters, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, look, their guys come over the house that they bring, you know, I just tell them, listen, my daughters are very tough. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, they're good girls, they're independent, they're tough. But if you can't deal with that, you're out.
Yep.
Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they're going to have to respect you too. It goes both ways.
Yep.
And if they don't respect you, I don't care that it's my daughter. Get away from them.
Yep.
Go away.
Yep.
It goes both ways. But Guys don't have that mentality. People don't have that mentality anymore. A great majority of them. And you know what, Andrew? They're in the minority.
Yeah.
So why do we always fall to the minority?
And pander to them.
Yeah, why?
That's true.
Even when you think about their voting, they're not a big voting bloc.
Of course.
So that's why there's got to be some other scheme. It's got to be about power or control or just destroying us, because these are not the people that are putting you in office.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, you're 100% right. If you were to go to a border town in America where the people are flooding across the border, and you were to ask people, should we build a wall here? And you can ask black, white, Mexican, whoever, I bet the majority would say, yeah, build a wall.
Yeah,
To stop it.
it makes sense.
But they'll find this 10% of idiotic minority and push them to the front.
yeah,
And I'm really glad we had this talk, because it gave me something to think about. Because before I talk again, I'm going to try and find out who's pushing these idiots and making out like they're larger and more powerful than they are, and who's damaging the ideas that everybody knows to be true by who's pushing these morons to the front.
I'm going to tell you, I would go on that search with you, but I can tell you that's dangerous, because they don't want to be revealed.
Well, what did we say earlier? What do they fear most is accountability.
That's right.
I mean, if I were to say the right name right now, I wouldn't do another podcast ever again.
You're absolutely right. But, you know, look, I mean, all we can do is do our part, but we have to do it.
Absolutely.
And I respect you a lot for what you do, Andrew. I mean that. And look, there's a lot of controversy about me. I get it. You know, people are going to talk. No matter what you do, they're going to talk. And you have the same. You felt it the same. But when we're standing up for our principle and what we believe to be right, and we're spreading good word out there and telling people the truth, we have to live by that. And if we don't do that, we're cowards. Absolute cowards. Right? Guys say, well, what do you want me to do? Do something. Do something.
One of the things that make all of the legal bills and sleepless nights and jail cells and all the garbage worth it is meeting somebody else who's on the same mission as you along the way. So thank you very much, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, brother.
got
Thank
it.
you. Thank you
Got
very
it,
much.
brother.
And hopefully we'll sit around having a cigar in a few years and we were wrong. We saved it all and it all went okay.
Oh, God.
But, you know, even if that happens, we can pat ourselves on the back because we were part of it.
I was going to say, we were part of it. We enlightened people. We made them think. We made them see the truth. And this is all about truth. That's all it is. You know, it's all about telling people the truth, protecting your own interests, protecting your family, your community, the people that you love, you know, the world you grew up in. It's hopefully is going to remain, you know, at least, look.
At least tangible, at least understandable. Because I think, man, I'm going to sound old when I say this. It must be confusing to be young nowadays.
Oh.
With all this internet and this and that and all these different ideas and all this garbage on Netflix and YouTube, and you're being told one thing at school, another thing at home, and it must be scary to be 10 or 11 or 12 years old.
Well, yeah, because you have these kids have so many distractions at their fingertips that we really never had. I never had this growing up.
Oh, he has ADHD. No, he's used to having fun video
Yes.
games all day, every day. Now you want him to stare at a book. Well, that's not ADHD. That's a lack of discipline and constant, endless entertainment. That's what that is.
And let me ask you this. This is a thing of mine. What do you think about every kid getting a trophy for something, whether they achieve something or not, especially in sports?
Oh, well, that's how they pound individual exceptionalism out of the populace, right? You're a bad person if you win now. If you win
Yeah.
too much, you're a bad person. It's better if, you know, everyone wins. Participation. They just don't want anybody to wake up and understand that the unfortunate reality of the real world, outside of your little classroom, is that there are winners and there are losers. That's the reality of the world. That's how it works. Everything you've ever wanted in your life, that woman you want, other men want. That car you want, other men want. That house you want, other men want. And the guy who has it won. And the guy who didn't lost. And that's how it works. It's a power dynamic. It's constant and endless competition. That's how the masculine world is. And I guess one of the easiest ways to attack and damage masculinity is to remove our competitive edge.
Exactly.
As a man, you wake up. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I don't buy the fastest Ferrari to drive any faster. I just want the fastest one in the showroom. The guy doesn't build a bigger yacht to have an extra 10 foot of deck. He doesn't care. He wants the biggest yacht in the marina.
Exactly.
That's how men are, and that's what built the entire modern world. I want to be the first one to march across Antarctica, even if I risk freezing to death, because my name will go down in history. That's what men were. And if you're going to remove competitiveness,
Yeah, what are you taught if you're taught not to compete? If it doesn't matter, if we're all on the same level, what are you taught?
how can you have a man who is not interested in competition of any kind?
Okay.
Financial or at least success, any kind of success. If you have a man who's not a competitive man, you don't have a man at all.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Till next time when I interrupt your paper.
Well, that's okay. We'll do it.
We'll get it done.
It was better than what I saw in the paper today, that's for sure.